Hey, Deadpool 2 was pretty good. I'll have more to say on this week's Wulff Den Live, but suffice to say, I enjoyed myself with this film. But while I was talking with my friends about the movie, we touched upon a sort of a sore spot of mine when it comes to superhero films in general. I am referring to what I like to call the mask to unmask ratio, the amount of time a hero spends without their mask on while he or she is in their crime-fighting gear. It may seem a little nitpicky, it may not seem like a big deal, but let me try to explain it to you, and hopefully you'll see through my eyes why this irks me. One of my biggest pet peeves with modern superhero films is when the hero takes off his or her mask, usually a him, at random and unnecessary points throughout the movie. I'm not talking about stuff like Batman taking his mask off in the cave after he just got done crime fighting, either to relax or regroup and collect himself. I'm talking about things like Iron Man having to constantly take off his mask to talk to somebody even though he's perfectly capable of talking to them with it on. See, to me, masks are not just an important part of the costume, they're an important part of the character. Sure, they do the obvious thing like hide someone's secret identity, but the mask completes the iconic look of the hero. It's part of what makes Batman, Batman, or the Flash, or Spider-Man, Spider-Man. It completes their look and just makes them feel whole. Now, of course, not all superheroes wear masks, like not all superheroes wear capes. In fact, in this day and age, wearing a mask for a lot of characters just isn't essential. But for characters that do still have masks, to not wear them, especially during key moments of a story, just feels disingenuous to the character. Let me try to explain this better by discussing what I think is the most famous example of a hero taking his mask off for no reason. Spider-Man 2. Throughout this film, Tobey Maguire just can't seem to keep the mask on. Like, why did he take his mask off when he realized his powers weren't working? Why did he keep his mask off after he got sparks in his eyes trying to save the train? By the end of the film, when he takes his mask off to talk to Doc Ock, we're all like, well, of course that's what he's gonna do. This trend continues to an extent in Spider-Man 3, where he takes his mask off to get sand out of it in broad daylight, and when he's fighting Venom and conveniently loses it. And this trend just keeps on going. It happens a lot in the Amazing Spider-Man films, and it even happens in the Marvel Cinematic Universe Spider-Man movie. And not to spoil Infinity War because it's still in theaters, but this was in the trailers, he just doesn't wear his mask for, I'd say, 85% of the movie. Speaking of the MCU, they really seem to have taken to this idea of a hero just taking his mask off, especially at the end of a film. Captain America takes his mask off after he's beaten Red Skull to try and steer the plane out of the ice, and he straight up does not wear it during the climax of Age of Ultron. When they go to Sokovia to try and save it, he just decides, nah, I'll leave that at home, which really bothers the crap out of me. I can understand if it happens maybe once or twice in the middle of the film, but for the climactic final battle, no sir. I want to see hero versus villain, and that means full costume versus full costume. I can take some battle damage here and there, like at the end of Spider-Man 1, or technically the end of Black Panther when their suits are malfunctioning, but to basically end your movie with Tony Stark versus Guy Pearce on fire, rather than Iron Man versus Guy Pearce on fire, that bothers me. And if you think I'm squarely picking on Marvel, don't worry, DC does this too. Deadshot has an iconic look of a white mask with a red eye, but for Suicide Squad we get Will Smith. He wears the mask once, but the rest of the movie, Big Willie style's all in it. Now there are two main reasons why they do this in superhero movies. One being that these actors are expensive. You paid a lot of money for Will Smith and Robert Downey Jr. You better get your money's worth by showing their face as often as possible. Second, to a lot of actors and even directors, not wearing a mask can help showcase more of the emotion, the subtlety, and the nuance of a performance. If an actor is wearing a mask, a lot of those little bits might be covered up. Well, to rebuke the first reason, just hire cheaper actors, hire people that are happy to be in a superhero movie. And as to the second reason, I've never bought the idea that you can't express emotion well with your face covered up. I mean, hello, Darth Vader had his face covered through 3 films, and I could tell very well when he was satisfied, when he was angry, when he was confused, when he was puzzled, when he was trying to kill somebody. It was very easy to tell. And it's not like there have never been comic book films where the hero doesn't take his mask off at all. I can think of at least three. One of them being 2009's The Spirit. Now before you come at me, yes, The Spirit is very, very bad. They got so much of that movie wrong, but one of the things they did right was the fact that the Spirit doesn't take his mask off pretty much throughout the entire runtime of the film. And because of that, the whole mystique of the character of the Spirit is never lost or broken. There's still this era of mystery around him to us, the audience, and to the characters in the movie. A better example, i.e. a movie that isn't as bad, is V for Vendetta. Hugo Weaving doesn't take his mask off once throughout the entire film. You never see his face. And yet V is the most compelling character in the movie, even if they did neuter him for the film compared to the comic book. You can tell he's passionate about his mission, how much he hates the government, how much he loves Evie. You can tell all of that without seeing a human face, just the plasticine anonymous mask. And perhaps my favorite example is Dredd. Carl Urban never takes off the helmet while portraying Judge Dredd. All you get is this little pissed off face right here, but it's the perfect expression for this kind of character. In contrast, the Stallone Dredd movie, the second he takes the helmet off, the movie's unwatchable. Not even kidding. Now granted, those are all more so outliers. Those aren't mainstream superhero films. So are there any superhero films that do this right, that have a good mask to unmask ratio? Getting back to the beginning of this video, Deadpool and Deadpool 2 actually have a very good mask to unmask ratio. Pretty much every time Deadpool has to get down to business, Ryan Reynolds just keeps the mask on. Deadpool never takes it off to stare at the camera while he's fighting. During both climaxes, he just keeps it on. I'm even willing to give a little extra credit to these films because for more than half of Deadpool 1 and for say 90% of Deadpool 2, spoiler alert, Ryan Reynolds, when he's not wearing the Deadpool mask, is covered under a lot of prosthetic, giving us that disfigured Deadpool look we all know and love. And you know what? None of the Batman films really have this problem either. There's that bit at the end of Batman Returns where Michael Keaton rips off his mask to try to connect to Catwoman. But other than that, when Batman's out fighting crime, full costume is on, no question about it. I mean, Christian Bale spends the last half an hour of The Dark Knight in full costume. We don't see Bruce Wayne again after the hour and 56-minute mark. Now, beyond the masked and unmasked ratio, there's another category of the same mentality, and that's with superhero films where they just straight up don't give the hero a mask, even though in the comics, they have one. This doesn't bother me as much because it's usually being done with heroes that I can see not needing a mask. Hawkeye, for example, wears a mask in the comics, and sometimes sunglasses are his mask, but it kind of fits the character in the movie, at least the way Jeremy Renner portrays him. If he's supposed to be a known government agent similar to Black Widow and she doesn't wear a mask, then Hawkeye not wearing one sort of makes sense. And with the X-Men, who are famous for not wearing comic book accurate costumes on screen, I also kind of let this slide. To me, the idea of the X-Men covering up their faces kind of goes against what Professor Xavier has been teaching them, that they should be accepted for who they are and not have to hide their abilities or their appearances. I get why people want to see the masks on screen. I mean, there's still no good reason why at least Wolverine can't wear his mask in the movies, but I don't even think a lot of the X-Men wear masks in the comic books anymore, so not having them in the movies is fine with me. But for characters where masks are important, for characters where the mask completes not just their iconic look, but completes their character, for them to just take it off during the middle of the film, and especially during the big climax, that's just not right. We go to superhero movies to see our favorite characters fight bad guys in the biggest way possible. To see a character take off his mask and to fight crime that way just breaks the illusion. Then we're not seeing Captain America fight bad guys. We're seeing Chris Evans fight bad guys. And I mean, Chris Evans seems like a nice guy. I'd like to hang out with him and get coffee one day, but I would rather see Captain America fight Ultron's robots than Chris Evans fight Ultron's robots, if you get what I'm saying. I know it sounds like I'm droning on about what is essentially a nothing issue. Partly that's because I've been off script for about half of this video by this point. And partially because this is a really simple fix. Just have the actor wear the damn mask throughout the film. I'm not saying they have to be in costume all the time. You can't have an Iron Man movie without some Tony Stark scenes. I get that. But when it's time to get down to superhero business, get down to superhero business. Wear your costume, wear the mask, wear it proudly, and everybody goes home happy. Or at least just me. A lot of you probably don't care. But if you do care, feel free to let me know down below or anywhere on the internet. Does it piss you off when a superhero takes off their mask during a big battle or during random parts in the movie where it would make no sense for them to take it off? Of course, new videos every Tuesday and Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern is Wulff Den Live. So make sure you subscribe to see all of that. Like this video and share it with a friend who is sick and tired of going to see Spider-Man movies only to see him take off his mask when he gets a little itchy underneath. You're Spider-Man, wear the mask. Thank you all for watching. I will see you next time.